Like the other children in the village, I went to a small mosque school every night to learn how to chant in Quran. Nothing pleased a child more. We paid 2.5 cents a week for a lamp oil. Chanting began at 5 in the afternoon and continued until 9 at night. It was the only way we could get out of doing our homework. Our chanting consisted largely of telling jokes, talking in private about sex, and annoying other people as they prayed the sunset and evening prayers. And waiting for our turn to pray. This is our world at the age of 9. I, like my friends, wanted to be a good Muslim. None of us has been circumcised yet. Our religious observances extended only as far as annoying people at prayer, avoiding homework, praying as a group in the mosque at the Friday prayers without understanding a word of Arabic. We were not so different from other Muslims. Then one of my friends was circumcised. There was a large celebration, and I wondered if I really was a proper Muslim, not having been circumcised. I thought about it to myself. I wanted to be a proper Muslim. But could I without being circumcised? No one in the world knew what I was thinking. In our small town, Laura, boys were usually circumcised between the ages of 8 and 13. The celebrations were as grand as possible. Girls were incised at 15 days. There was absolutely no celebration at all. One night, my father came to me. I don't know where he had been. The house lights were all out, except for a single light in the middle of the house. I could tell he was very happy. At the same time, my mother was telling me about a Haji who had a lot of wives. It was an amazing story. Because of my father's presence, the story died. "Are you brave enough to be circumcised, my son?" he asked. There was a hopeful smile on his face. I was terrified, but I wanted to be a genuine Muslim. My father always frightened me. I don't know why. His smile conquered my fear. "What would you like for a circumcision gift? A ceremonial cloth or a sarong?" "A cloth, father." Then my father asked Tatu, my younger brother, age 7, the same question. "Are you brave enough, Tatu?" Sure, Tatu was delighted. Father laughed contentedly. The lamp highlighted his white teeth and dark red gums. Mother rose from the mattress on the floor. "When do you intend to have them circumcised?" she asked. "As soon as possible," he replied. Mother lay down to rest again. She did not continue her story about the lascivious Haji. "You must thank God for making your father want to have you both circumcised," she told us. Yes, mother, we replied. Your grandfather and other ancestors in heaven will be delighted when they find out you have been circumcised, she said. Yes, mother. I could scarcely sleep that night. I imagined how much the cut would hurt. I also thought of a new cloth and sandal my father would buy me, the new shirt, the headband, the fees of not going to school, the guests, the presents that I would receive. I wanted the cloth and headband so I could be good Javanese as well as good Muslim. I wanted a sarong. Hopefully 2 or 3 of them circumcised friends would be jealous too. I rose in the morning full of excitement. Tattoo and I went to school very early. Usually our feet seemed to hate going to school. Now they flew. Everyone listened to us. The uncircumcised children looked at us with respect, especially those who were older than us. Their eyes never gazed at us like that before. The teachers treated us kindly. Soon we would be real Muslim. Then, and this was more important than anything else, we could take our place in heaven, just as our religious teacher, the Kiai, had taught us. If we were circumcised, we would go to heaven. There would be no need for those beautiful things we wanted. They were not ours forever. Our friends at the mosque school were stunned. The Kiai looked at us the way the teacher had. I felt taller and more important than everyone else. Heaven's gates seemed to open in front of me. Our teacher had promised us lovely Howry as well. I imagined them to be as beautiful as a certain girl all the boys at school talk about. When I circumcised, I will be real Muslim. I told the kid, I can go to heaven. He laughed happily and added, and you can have 40 harmony as well. I hope they don't have 6 or 8 teeth like a bitch, I said. He laughed again. I want like Srati. She goes to our school. She's beautiful. He laughed. And I'll fish in your rivers of milk every day, Tattoo added. Again, the Kiai laughed. His unbrushed teeth were revolting. Our older uncircumcised friend listened in silence. Their eyes showed that they were afraid of not going to heaven but to hell, and of the missing out on the Howry. From then on, we chanted delightedly. We got our schoolwork done as quickly as possible. Every Monday and Thursday, until the school year was over, we fasted. We were both promoted. 2 weeks before the end of the school year, Father decided to stage a play and to hold the circumcision on the next day. The play was to be performed by the boys in his private school. He wanted to do this every year so that the poor could have their children circumcised as well. The response was disappointing. People were ashamed of the idea that someone else should pay to have their children circumcised. So this time, only 6 boys were to be circumcised. Myself, Tattoo, and a nephew of father, aged 10, and a stepchild, aged 16, and the 2 poor boys from the edge of town. Father's other stepson, a youth of 18, who had already a child by our maid, refused. He said his own father would arrange it for him. As far as I could recall, Fathers wished to close the year with a play, and a charity's circumcision were never carried out in a satisfactory manner. At the time, I was in a class 6. Tattoo was in class 2. 5 days before the close of the school, the 6 of us had to learn the traditional Panimbrana tune so we could tell the audience at the play we were going to be circumcised the next day and ask them for their blessings. Our teacher wrote a play about a goat that got lost. At last, one day, we had longed for arrived. Our grandmother gave us green silk sarongs. Our mother gave us lacquered sandals and new shirts. The girl students gave us fan each. Father gave us 8 children's books in Dutch. We forgot about the coming morning's pain. The school was crowded with spectators. A meal was served: sweet potato, boiled peanuts, fermented cassava, and the various delicacies. The 6 of us lined up on the stage. I wore a ceremonial cloth and headband, as did my brother. The others were bareheaded. As soon as the curtain opened, the gamelan percussions orchestra began. We bowed. I felt very grand. The audience watched us, fascinated, as we told them of our circumcision the next day. The girls gazed in awe. Soon there will be 6 more eligible bachelors. When the song was done, we bowed again. The audience clapped loudly. Then the curtain fell. Our task was over. We were free. There were a few spectacles in our town. People came from everywhere to watch the play. The 4 teaching areas were crowded. As soon as the gamelan faded, other music began. The catchy peanut flower song, Rosemary, cowboy songs from the folk operas, and the traditional songs with Hawaiian influence. A lot of people patted us on the shoulder after the play to give us courage that pleases us too. Tattoo sang and sung in bed until eventually his voice grew soft that he fell asleep. Circumcision days were among the most important days in our part of town. They were like birthdays, weddings, funeral, and public holidays. The news always spread rapidly. Although Mother did not issue a single invitation, she received contribution from all over the town. As happened on all other occasions, we went to bed and rose early. The house rang with a noise at 4:30. Tattoo and I had to be bathed and dressed in a new clothes. My younger sister had new clothes too. My mother wore a new skirt with a traditional design known as broken swords, a pattern of parallel slanting lines, and an ornamental jacket with narrow lapels. The jacket was present from an aunt who taught in a girls' school in a Rimbang. She also wore a green stole. Father was dressed up in his school clothes, a broken sword sarong, and a jacket buttoned on the neck. As usual, he wore no shoes. At home, he sometimes wore a wooden sandal. The neighbors seemed to be affected too. They rose early, dressed in a new clothes, and accompanied us to the school. About 50 meters from our house, a shelter of tulle netting had been erected inside the school. The candidate for circumcision sat in chairs near it. Gradually, more and more adults came. Children swarmed around the center. The girls did not come quite as far as forward as the boys. Finally, circumcision specialist Kalak came. He brought a bundle of handkerchiefs containing 3 razors. An old man came over to us. "Don't be afraid," he said. "It won't hurt. It's just like being bitten by a red ant." I laughed when I was circumcised. There were a lot of comforting voices, but no matter how sweet the voices sounded, we were still scared. Then it was time. Mother and father rose from their large chair in the center of the guests and approached the circumcision hut. Pride and elation showed on their faces. The first one in was the stepson. He was older than the rest of us. The other adopted son, who had already fathered a child, did not attend the celebration. The children crowded so close to the shelter that the adults were forced to drive them away. I was terrified. I wanted to be a genuine Muslim, but that did not stop me from being frightened. My heart seemed to beat more quickly every time the kalak bowed out of prayers. Soon my adopted brother was led from the shelter. He could scarcely walk. His face and lips were pale. He seemed exhausted. They sat him on a chair and placed an earthen dish filled with kitchen ash between his legs to catch the blood dripping from his penis. One after another, the boys went into the shelter and came out pale and scarcely able to walk. At last, my wait was over. 2 or 3 people helped me by the shoulders, as though afraid I might run away, and lead me inside. There was a cruel look at the kalak's face. At least I thought there was. I sat on the chair and tipped my head back. Someone held me by the shoulders. An old man pressed my forehead down so that I could not see. There was a bowl of ash under the chair. The specialist grabbed my penis, then manipulated it until it felt very hot. Then he cut the foreskin with razor. I was circumcised. I watched the blood drip from the end of my penis. "Don't move," said one of men. "No, don't. Wait till the first flow is over." I watched the first flow. A thick thread of congealed black blood slowly fell and vanished into the bowl of ash. Tattoo, being the youngest, was last. He sat in a row of chairs. From time to time, drops of blood fell into the earthenware dishes. Everyone looked at us. Mother came over and kissed me on the cheek. I was aware of how much she loved me, and I cried. She kissed Tattoo too. Father came over and said, "Well done, well done." The children began to leave. Finally, only adults were left in the 6th form classroom. One by one, they excused themselves and left. The circumcised boys walked home. We are treated like kings all day. People did whatever we asked. The families of 2 poor boys brought us chicken and rice. "Well, Ma, do you feel any different?" "I'm very happy, Mother," I replied. "Do you feel like real Muslim?" she asked again. The question startled me. I did not feel any different, even though I was a proper Muslim now. "I feel the same as I did yesterday," I told her, "and the day before that, I still don't feel real Muslim." "Perhaps you haven't kept the 5 daily prayer times." "Yes, I have every day. Your grandfather went to Mecca. Perhaps you'd feel different if you make the pilgrim feel like a proper Muslim." "On a boat, Mother?" Tattoo asked. Yes, on a boat of Arabia. I suddenly realized that I will never be a genuine Muslim. My parents were poor. We would never be able to afford to go to Mecca. Why has not father been to Mecca? I asked. We're poor, Mac. Even though we wanted to be rich, we knew we never would be. Once I recovered, I never wanted to be a good Muslim again. Poverty killed any ambition anyone in our neighborhood might have. Gradually, the two and I became all the other children who had nothing because poverty had taken everything.